Bruno Fernandes has been an amazing player for the Premier League, and he is most likely going to break the record for the most assists in the league this season. So let's take a look at why Bruno Fernandes refuses to shoot.
Why does Bruno Fernandes consciously choose not to shoot, even when he can? Against Brentford at Old Trafford, he had a clean angle on goal. He passed to Sesko instead. He did it again against Liverpool, but the goalkeeper touched it and he stayed at 19, just too short of overtaking De Bruyne and Henry. He broke the club assist record with 2 assists against Aston Villa to reach 16. He pulled level with Cristiano Ronaldo on 140 direct goal contributions for Manchester United. In this video, you'll find out why Michael Carrick is publicly demanding Bruno Fernandes be named Premier League Player of the Year.
He deserves it, you know,
of course
for the
he
impact that
deserves
he's
it.
had.
Because counting Bruno's assists is not enough. You have to look at how they were created. 10 of his 19 assists came from set pieces, so how did he get to that number? Casemiro has scored 6 goals this season directly from Bruno's passes. A Brazilian everyone wrote off last year. Mateus Cunha 19 open play chances received from Bruno alone. Benjamin Sesko, a Slovenian everyone called an expensive mistake a year ago, is now United's main striker. After the win over Brentford, Sesko revealed something nobody knew. Bruno gives him tactical instructions before every single match. A man who would rather someone else score the goal. But it didn't start this way. The first 7 months of this season, nobody saw this version of Bruno. He started this season as a deep-lying central midfielder. For the first time in his...
Thanks to Amorim. I've said this before, if Amorim wasn't the coach for United in the beginning of the season, we would have been probably second or maybe even first, and Bruno would have broken the assist record by a mile.
Premier League career, Bruno went 7 straight matches without a single assist. By December, Bruno had received his 3rd red card of the season, the first United player to do so since Nemanja Vidic, a clear sign of an elite competitor breaking under a system that was suffocating him. Michael Carrick arrived in mid-January as an interim solution. His one critical decision was returning Bruno to the number 10 role. From Carrick's appointment to the start of May, Bruno produced 11 assists in 13 league matches, the highest output of any player across Europe's top 5 leagues in that period. In the same window, United picked up 29 points, the best team in the Premier League since Carrick walked through the door. So what actually changed? In one of the biggest wins of the season, in the early stretch of Carrick's reign, Fernandes provided the decisive assist in the Manchester derby against City. Against Chelsea, he invented the chance for Cunha's winner, pushing the team toward Champions League. Bruno completes 82% of his passes, far below Toni Kroos. But Fernandes losing the ball is the very source of his genius. He consciously accepts high risk. He is willing to misplace 8 difficult line breakers because he knows the 9th will produce a 100% chance to win the match. In a system that had been dysfunctional for years, that individual courage to take the risk is what carried the entire team. And despite being the most productive creator in the league, Bruno is dismissed by rival fans across the country.
You know what the thing is? I think at the World Cup, this is a prediction, but I think at the World Cup, Bruno's going to do amazing, regardless of Portugal winning or not winning.
Hasn't had a European stage this season. De Bruyne carried Manchester City through Champions League semi-finals and finals for years. In England, the ideal captain is a stoic. Players like Roy Keane and John Terry set the standard for authority through silent toughness, never showing public frustration. Bruno Fernandes is the absolute opposite of that archetype. The English public sees him as the player with the most irritating body language on the pitch. But what everyone ignored, he is carrying United through the worst years in their modern history. Last summer, in 2025, with United finishing 15th, Bruno had 3 serious offers on the table. He turned all 3 down. A man who consciously decided to spend the final peak years of his career at Manchester United. And to understand the scale of that sacrifice, you have to go 6 years back. January 2020, a 25-year-old Portuguese arrives from Sporting. In his first half season, cut short by the pandemic, Bruno produced 8 goals and 7 assists. But that's not the strongest number from that period. Bruno Fernandes in his first half season was directly responsible for 50% of the entire team's expected goals. Half of the creative output of an 11-man team generated by one man after 6 months at the club. Then comes the chaos that would define this entire career. Ronaldo's return, 5 managers, and 1 captain who had to relearn the game every 12 months. Through every one of those changes,
Maguire was captain for a while as well. I think we have forgotten that.
His elite level of chance creation. And then comes the season that defined everything, 2024-25. Manchester United finished 15th in the Premier League with 42 points, the worst United season since the club was relegated in the 1970s. place, 15th place, 5 spots above the relegation zone, and a defeat in the Europa League final. In the middle of that wreckage, Bruno Fernandes scored 19 goals across all competitions, the same man being publicly named as the cause of the failure. Without those 19 goals, United are not fighting for 15th. They are fighting for survival. And now look what happens when you place this next to the argument that Bruno...
I also think if Bruno started scoring goals, we would be not third. Because of him, I think a lot of players score. Otherwise, they just don't have the ability to score.
Bruno cannot stand alongside De Bruyne. Since arriving at Manchester United in January 2020, Bruno Fernandes has played more matches, scored more goals, and created more chances in the Premier League than Kevin De Bruyne in the same period, while registering 182 defensive starts compared to De Bruyne's 49. De Bruyne was working under Pep Guardiola. Bruno was working under 5 different managers at the same club while running back as a box-to-box midfielder. Owen Hargreaves put it most clearly. The crown of the Premier League's best midfielder has passed from De Bruyne to Bruno Fernandes. That doesn't mean Bruno is better. It means De Bruyne has a legitimate successor, a successor who barely misses a match, who turns down the rest Carrick offers him, who plays through injuries that other players would use as an excuse. Henry broke the record inside Wenger's machine. De Bruyne broke the record inside Guardiola's system. Bruno Fernandes is breaking the record at a club that was 15th in the table 12 months ago. If
Bruno's breaking the record by himself, which is insane.
Man had played in a stable system, his name would already be carved next to the Ballon d'Or winners. Instead, he accepted the role of being the one thing keeping the ship afloat at a Manchester United that has been sinking for years. And that is exactly why Michael Carrick is publicly demanding that Bruno Fernandes be named Premier League Player of the Year.
He's proved that for so long, and then his quality, his moments, you know, he's a fantastic footballer.
Not because of 19 assists, because he produced them inside the kind of chaos that would have broken any other player on the planet. Bruno Fernandes is not the best midfielder in the world because he is mathematically perfect. Bruno Fernandes is the most unselfish, selfish player in football. Inside a system he has already turned his back on twice, and now they have everything.
And the thing is, it's not just at United. Like, you at Portugal, he does those like ridiculous things.
United beat their biggest rival 3-2. Champions League qualification secured for the first time in 3 years. And on the 3rd of May, Bruno Fernandes once again chose to let someone else score the goal. Alongside him, Kobbie Mainoo has become an elite midfielder. The same Mainoo who was completely cast aside under Amorim, from the wreckage of 15th place last season to 3rd place and a return to the Champions League. And that brings us back to that match against Brentford. The man who didn't shoot, the man who passed to Sesko, the man who chose the assist over the goal. This was not an accident, but you have to know one thing. The club he chose to stay with was considering selling him, not because they didn't want him, because they were afraid his market value would drop. A man who reached his 200th goal contribution for Manchester United in February 2026, faster than Paul Scholes, faster than Ryan Giggs, the second fastest in the entire history of the club, became, in the eyes of the new ownership, a financial calculation rather than a captain. Bruno turned down Saudi Arabia, he turned down Bayern Munich, he turned down Paris Saint-Germain to stay at the club that was openly considering selling him. In that same window, United sold Garnacho. They eventually got rid of Rashford. And Bruno...
I'm so happy we sold Garnacho, by the way. That knobhead needed to go.
Fernandes stayed. Every manager left. The club tried to move him on. He stayed and saved it, not with assists, as the most underrated captain Manchester United has ever had.
He definitely is underrated. But you know what? I think after the World Cup, I think Bruno's going to get his pick. Because in the World Cup, Portugal's going to do something. At least going to be top 4, I think. But I know, like, if Portugal wins the World Cup, Ronaldo's winning the Ballon d'Or. So Bruno's not going to be there. But he's going to be in the talks at least.